Good evening to us ladies. My name is Shana Shamim. Welcome to another edition of Inclusive Talk. Tonight we're talking about mindset change for and in persons with disabilities. I am joined by Ashana Matovu and Maureen Kalunji. Ladies, say hi to the people.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Asha Namatovu, your inclusive employment advocate and mental health and autism awareness. I'm happy to be here. Welcome to our show tonight. I hope we are going to have some fun.
Good evening to our listeners. My name is Maureen Kalunji, Gender and Disability Inclusive Advocate. I'm happy to be here as we talk about mindset.
Nice. Okay then. So let before we get into the discussion, our icebreaker for today is: when did you last feel seen as a woman with a disability? Asha?
For me, not really of recent, but I've been in situations this year where like recognized for either for my work on social media, my advocacy work that is, and so it is interesting to. They know me from somewhere else, and then I didn't know them. So somehow I found that interesting, and some people give you feedback. You're very good. You're doing a good job. When are you coming back to talk about these things like that? So for me, it is in the feedback from people who are watching what I'm doing, and that made me feel as an advocate. I won't say as a woman, but as an advocate.
It still applies, and I love it for you. I love that you're getting more recognized now. I love that for you. Maureen, how about you? When did you last feel seen as a woman with a disability or as an advocate?
This has been also happening because during my work, like most of the time that I stand up to speak for my fellow persons with disability, when I'm doing advocacy, when people see me do work that frontline persons with disability, that's when they start seeing me. Then they don't put me like as a person with disability, but then they look at my work. So I think even when I'm walking in public places, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, people can recognize you as a human being when you're dressed up well. They first see your abilities before again recognizing your disabilities. So those are the moments where I've been less seen as a woman with a disability.
I like it. I like the fact that we're focusing on the advocate aspect as women with disabilities, because I think this is what links us together. So I think in that vein, I will say that last year, the only thing I heard about myself in the community was how difficult I am, how very hard I am, and it demoralized me, by the way, because I do feel like I've done really good work for the community and in the community, to have people think that I am a hard person and difficult person because I will not give in to intimidation and threat. But what I'm hearing this year is that, okay, for the past 2 months, is that, if you're to work with a woman with a disability or a person with a disability, you work with Shana Shamim. She is a resource, she is knowledgeable, so you cannot go wrong. And that made me feel happy. I'm a bit happier about the fact that, okay, despite all the negativity that I encountered last year, there are still people who are watching, and they are like focusing on the positive aspects of the person that I am, because I am really proud of my work, and I am proud of our space as women with disabilities, despite its pinches and hopes and everything. But that us three are getting acknowledged and recognized and seen for our contributions to the space, because at the end of the day, what we do want is gender equality and disability inclusion for the community of young women with disabilities. So to get into our discussion tonight, this does bring us to mindset change, which most of our examples have been focusing on. It's a term we have often heard of in the past few years. The government of Uganda is in fact fronted it as a key to sustainable development, and citizens are being asked to embrace it. And large sums of money are being sought by the line ministries to conduct countrywide mindset change. So I think we all see how serious this is and maybe how serious the government is about it. But we're looking at mindset change in persons with disabilities. So my first question goes to you, Maureen. Could you define for us what this is and how it has influenced negative societal perceptions of persons with disabilities? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna, and our listeners. To my understanding is mindset change is your belief and thought to your surroundings.
Shan, I wanted to come back to you. As you introduced the topic, maybe tell us more about mindset change as Maureen is back. But maybe you could tell us about mindset change in persons with disabilities as regarding the policy or the programming.
Thank you, Asha. Okay, I will start with the policy aspect and then Maureen can come in and continue with us on the societal aspect of it. So, mindset change, it's defined as a shift or transformation in an individual's beliefs, attitudes, perceptions, or thinking patterns. It just involves adopting new perspectives, outlook, or a way of approaching situations, challenges, or life in general. It's actually considered a positive thing for development and also like personal development as well as professional development. So when it comes to the policy environment, we all know that policies, they are catalyst to mindset change because they shape the context in which individuals and organizations operate. But in our policy environment and the negative perceptions that persons with disabilities have, we realize that our policies haven't really done much to change the perceptions of persons with disabilities. So in what way? You see, for example, in the education arena, the education sector, you realize that the institutionalization of children with disabilities in what we call special needs schools instead of the mainstream schools, it sends a message that persons with disabilities are inferior and also that they're incapable of participating fully in community life, which is something we really do not want to see anymore because there's a lot of talk around the institutionalization, both for mental health and also for children with disabilities, especially those with severe disabilities. Another aspect is the lack of accessibility and accommodation. We do have the Building Control Act, which mandates accessibility standards in public spaces, education and employment. But inadequate enforcement of this law has made it look like persons with disabilities are not valued in society and they are alienated. Because if you look around our public spaces, there are barely ramps to anywhere. And if you're to get a ramp, you have to fight. KCCA is not paying attention. The Uganda National Review Board is also not paying a lot of attention towards it. So like personally for me, if I'm going to go to like a government thing, let's say a government MDA, whatever, I first have to tie myself to in the heart because I know I am going to argue somewhere at that office, Because people are really just not sensitive to persons with disabilities in these public spaces, even when there are no ramps, no lifts, no accessible walkways, nothing. And in the employment sector, persons with disabilities are denied reasonable accommodation because of they are denied reasonable accommodation because it comes at a cost sometimes. So you may find that a person with a disability is highly educated, highly qualified, but the moment she walks into the room, they're like, we cannot do what? We cannot employ you because of the extra cost that is involved. So this also puts us at a disadvantage and also limits our thinking and says, so I am unwanted in this community and I cannot be a productive citizen of the community. So this enforces the negative mindsets within us as individuals, not forgetting the fact that the policies traditionally They are centered on the medical model of disability, which says disability is the problem of a person, not necessarily the problem of a problem that has been created by the environment and also the attitudes. So because of this view of disability, there's a sense of inadequacy in persons with disabilities, making them feel responsible for their disability, yet it's the problem of the environment. And what we're also grappling with in the policy environment is the limited representation and participation of persons with disabilities in the policy environment. You see that when you're having limited representation and participation, it prevents us from challenging the misconceptions about disability. And it also encourages poor service delivery to persons with disabilities because we're not in the decision-making spaces. And if people are there in the decision-making spaces, they only have like a handful of ideas of what persons with disabilities need. Yeah. So you see, it's also, it also brings about poor planning in actual sense. It brings about poor planning. Then the last thing I think I want to say here is the language used in the policy environment. You realize that the language is quite stigmatizing. Recently, I was reading a document from, I think it was a government body, and then they were using words like cripple, and then it reminded me of the word unsound mind that is used in the Mental Health Act, yeah? So the fact that this language is still existing, yet we're in 2024, and there have been several efforts to ensure that we're using positive language because several terms have changed over the years. So it also just contributes to the perception of to the perpetuation of negative stereotypes and attitudes in persons with disabilities and society. I think I'll stop there for now. Thank you.
Very insightful. Thank you, Shana. I know when you get into policy, then the research in you comes out. I feel like you're preaching to Parliament on the floor Parliament, mashallah. So thank you for that. You talked about certain things, but I think I'll comment when my time comes. But you really brought out the issues. I hope that the powers that be and the duty bearers get to listen and learn from whatever you were saying. So Maureen is back, so I think you can call her back to speak.
Oh, okay. Maureen, I hope you can hear me. Thank you for coming back, and we hope that your network is stable right now. So I defined what mindset change is, but maybe you can tell us how society's perception of persons with disabilities has encouraged the negative mindset in persons with disabilities. Maureen? Okay, I see that you're connecting your microphone, Maureen.
I don't know whether
we can hear you now.
Oh God, Jesus Christ. Thank God.
Okay.
Today, I don't know where we are, but maybe someone to remind to re-echo what again.
So I did define what mindset change is and talked about the policy environment. So for you can proceed to tell us about how it has influenced negative societal perceptions in persons with disabilities.
Okay. Thank you so much to our listeners and to my fellow ladies here. As I know the way Shana defined mindset change, and to my understanding also is these are beliefs and thoughts to your surroundings and the world you're in, and also the way your attitudes, actions, the way they are creating a positive influence around you to best support your beliefs. The way the society are viewing persons with disabilities, most of the time we all know that society has the negative thinking about disability and even the people that are living with disabilities. And one of the things they look at there is this alien that has come in, which is called ableism. Most of the times people think they discriminate, they see persons with disability that need to be, like, their disability need to be cured. We have also seen it most times it has manifested most times in churches, whereby you see some preachers talk about disability and say someone has failed to get healed or to come back to normal because their belief is low. And to my understanding, that's really a negative mindset, because I can live with a disability for all my life and it doesn't need to be cured. If all the environment is provided, the accessibility is okay, I can live and be a productive person in my society. So also I heard you talk about the medical. There's this also thing, the medical and individual model of disability has negatively affected the way persons with disability are treated in our community. Also, I would say the medical model sees them as patients or sick people and sees disability as an individual problem that need to be cured by individuals themselves. I also have seen it so many times whereby you find someone and says, "Are you feeling pain?" And you wonder. The way they look at you, they feel like you're fragile, you're feeling pain. They don't think that, our society doesn't think that you can move around without pain, but you're living with a disability. So there's that thing also. And also there's this mindset whereby persons with disabilities are seen as pitiable, and also seen as society. They think that we can't fully participate in everyday activity because of our disabilities. Um,
Okay, you're reconnecting. Hi, Maureen. Okay, in the interest of time, let's proceed with Asha, because Maureen's network is really poor at the moment. Asha, could you speak to us about the influences of mindset change on individuals with disabilities? Are they positive? Are they negative? Please share with us.
Thank you, Sana. And apologies to our listeners. One of our colleagues is struggling with the network. It is something that continues to challenge us, especially those of us that are trying to do work in the digital space. The internet is not our friend most times. So like Shana has introduced about the negative mindsets, and Maureen has mentioned a bit about ableism, where most people look at an unrealistic path or perfection. People look at bodies to be perfect, to be working, to be strong. And I'm going to speak more to that. This is something that Maureen has introduced, that people look at our bodies like they cannot work, they are broken, they are flawed, we are sick, we need to be healed of our disabilities, etc., etc. And we know that when you come from such a background of people around you, this is family, community, and everyone, where they look at you like you're less than, or that you are a burden or an extra cost. You know, for most of us, families will lament, we have this disabled child, we have a child who is sick and we're struggling with abuse. And these are things that this child is listening to and hearing and understanding. And of course, also other people are going to whisper, this child is broken. Did you see this family? They have this problem with this child. And this child is going to see all those things. So what happens that there is what we call internalized ableism, and this is me, a person with a disability, looking at myself in a negative perspective. This is something that most of us struggle with, including myself. This is something that I've struggled with, internalizing ableism, where you feel that you're not good enough, you're not as good as someone without a disability, and this will manifest in your own life, in your relationships, platonic, romantic, in your career or work relationships. The feeling of being helpless, a feeling of being hopeless, the feeling of being unattractive, not good enough. And it is something that most of us have. And this one also takes us to be depressed, something that we don't talk about a lot. Most persons with disabilities have depression because of all the stigma. People are saying you're not good, you're not attractive, you're a cost, you're a burden, you're a bad omen, you're a curse, and it gets to you. And because you can't do certain things for yourself, you're relying on someone else for even the smallest of things. And you start feeling, okay, I'm burdening these people. And you start believing, sometimes it's not true in most cases, but you start believing when you're young, and as you grow older, it becomes just worse and it spirals into something. I would like to acknowledge the disability lane and give flowers to Maureen and Shana and myself, of course, for coming up with this, speaking about things that are normally not talked about within the disability space and within anywhere. These are things that are often underlooked when people don't look at them. There is that persistent worrying that someone with a disability is going to have, and it does not change, and it is going to make you feel like you're less able. You won't look for work because you think you won't get the work anyway. When you got the work, Shana talked about it, they are going to look at you and then they say, but we don't have a ramp usher with a wheelchair. How are you going to manage? And they're not going to allow you to even be interviewed, even if you're good, and you're feeling, am I good enough? And when this happens so often, you're going to stop responding to advice because you're only going to think, all places don't have ramps, all places don't have elevators. Who is going to lift me? And it's going to keep you from moving further with your life. And things it should not be like that. So we have that issue where most of us have low self-confidence. I've been in a setting where they told us we shouldn't talk about that because it reinforces what people outside disability think about. But these are things which are real. I am not a person who likes to hide away from a problem. I'm a person who wants to come out and share something, and then maybe we work around it. I say we have the Honorable Rakanishi on the call. Thank you for joining us. Yes, most of the things I'm saying here, everyone on the call knows this, and people are breaking silent. There's a lot of depression. People are not going out to work. Then there is another part to this. Now this is the negative side. Then there is a part about entitlement. Some people with disabilities are self-entitled. They believe the honorable here went to parliament, they're going to give us money for free. Someone like Shana who works with organization person with disabilities is going to give us like a grant. So I am going to call the honorable and say, hello, my name is Asha, I don't have a job. Can you give me money? And it is something that most people have, and no one has taught us that it's not like that. I always try to encourage persons with disabilities, my sisters and brothers. And I don't know that comes off as someone who is privileged, and I hope not so, but sometimes you cannot expect people to give you handouts. Yes, you come to the honorable, come to someone, tell them I have this course, I'm trying to get a job. Not what do you have for us? You went to parliament, represent us. Where is the money? Give me money to start a business. Give me money to maybe go and marry someone, a wife. Give me money to look after my children if I'm a single mom. So this is something that we need also to address, the self-entitlement. But all those things are around self-confidence, poor self-esteem, and that implies shame that we're not good enough and we feel if we're not helped. Shana, if you don't stop me, I'm going to... So anyway, I apologize for rambling, but we need to do something about this, constructing these narratives. This is something that is real. This is something that people are struggling with to talk about because there is no safe space to talk about it. I might be feeling all these feelings, but no one has told me that yes, we can change this. Oh, it is okay. Even as Asha felt like that. We don't have those spaces. I think we should look more into having such open discussions where we talk about our feelings, our experiences, and maybe people validated them like, yeah, I've also experienced that. Sometimes when you think you're alone, but when you realize that this is something that other people have experienced, and then you can learn on how to change, how to heal. Yeah, so that's about
Asha.
that.
I love that. Thank you.
So I'll
You
stop there
raised the
for now.
point of entitlement, and I'm like, what? Someone came to my workplace recently, came to my workplace to ask for money from my boss, and I was like, hey, I thought it was a serious meeting. But the person had genuinely come to ask for money. And I know of another person who was chased all over Kampala just because someone wants money from her to go celebrate Women's Day in Katakwi. Can you imagine? Like, I don't know how we're going to take that away to have people believe that just because someone with a disability is maybe doing a bit better or in a higher position, it doesn't mean that they are responsible for you as a fellow with a disability. Because, like, I don't know, I think we all have our personal struggles and the workspaces are there, but it's the entitlement is a bit much. I'd like to recognize our Honorable Laura Kanushu. Thank you for joining our space. You're practically a bigger sister to us in this space, so we're very honored to have you here. Let me ask Maureen to continue with where she was at. Maureen, please proceed.
Thank you so much. I don't know, but I have to bear with my network. I don't know what's going on. You said something. I want to first talk about what you said, that many persons with disability are entitled. They have this thing that this is supposed to be mine. But I think the only way to change this mindset, it has to start from childhood. Like our parents that are raising us, they need to start knowing that if you are born with a disability, it doesn't mean that you can't do something by yourself. It doesn't mean that you should beg from people. I remember when I acquired disability, my dad, by that time, there were few people in my areas who had disability. So it was a rare thing. And I used to like going to play with my fellows. But when people used to see me, they could give me things. And my dad made sure that I shouldn't take people's gifts, because what he was building in me, that I'm not supposed to get a free thing from people because of my disability. And whenever people could give me money, he could say, never allow people to give you money. And that made me even.
Okay, it seems that Maureen has dropped off again. So we shall proceed to our next point of discussion. The sectors that are severely in need of mindset change. Why and how? I'll go to you, Asha. Which sector do you believe is in need of mindset change, and how can
people
we
used
go
to see
about
me
it?
and
Thank you, Shana. I just want to clarify, is Maureen coming in, or I can go on and then she can come in after me? She's connecting, so I think let me go on. So, thank you, Shana. The sector that needs a lot of, like in my introduction, for someone who has not had, I'm a disability, inclusive disability employment activist. So I think my number one sector would be the employment sector. And this is both the public sector and private sector, and I think that's the smaller businesses. One of our biggest problem within this sector, why most people are not employed, despite the government programs of affirmative action. Everyone goes to university now. There are more people than when I went to university. I think there are thousands and thousands of graduates, including those with masters, 2 masters and plus. And most of these people are not using their books because we don't have something in place that is helping us to transition from school to work. That being said, the biggest problem or the challenge to unemployment of persons with disabilities is the attitudes that people have. People are going to look at you and they are going to say you cannot work. People are going to think that because I use a wheelchair and I'm carried in my case, all other people with wheelchairs will need to be carried. When in reality it is just something that Asha has as an individual and not everyone within that disability category. So there is a lot of perceptions and assumptions where some employers believe that people with disabilities are the same. Yet we are not. And the only way we can change, being mindful of time, the only way we can change this is through breaking our silence on such platforms like this one, where we talk about issues within the disability space, where we talk about things that are supposed to be shameful and hidden, and we bring them out, where we're supposed to know how to grow ourselves, our self-confidence, improve ourselves. It all goes back to awareness raising and education. We cannot overemphasize that. There is still need, even in 2024, like you say, Shana, to teach people that accessibility is a right. Recently, I went to Mlango Hospital. I went to the Lung Institute, and they've never programmed or known or planned that someone like me could show up. Unfortunately, the day I was there, one of the days I was there, I think on Monday, someone fell in the bathroom, a patient who did not have a disability, but because the bathrooms are not accessible with those grabbers and handrails. Perhaps if it were there, it would have helped this person, regardless that they were sick. And because most of these accommodations, like you say, do not help just me, they help other people, and they're just a one-off. So we need continuously, it is unfair, but we need continuously educate, inform, speak about these things until probably, until people get it. So I'm happy for having the platform like this one, where I can come and speak about my pains as a person with a disability. And I'm also happy that I'm in this space of the development space, and I see that many organizations are coming on board, but there is still a lot of work. If government institutions, if government facilities are not even programming for people like us with disabilities, how do we expect a private business person to do better? I think with my sister Laura here on the call, I implore you to see, let the government walk the talk. Let it be let it show people that people like me and you and our brothers and sisters with disabilities matter. We are equally Ugandan. We deserve to be treated as and programmed for and thought of, and not as an afterthought or a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asha. And yes, you're right. We need to be thought of not as afterthoughts, but really thought of as citizens of the country that were also given priority. So I do agree with you. Maureen, would you like to share with us the sector you think is in dire need of mindset change?
Thank you so much to our listeners and to my fellow women with disabilities. I want us to talk about the health sector. I've realized that health sector needs most of the things that are being done in the health sector need to change, and this has to start with our mindset change. You realize that when we go to these health centers, clinics, hospitals, we find that they are not accessible to all types of disabilities. And why? It's because of the mindset people have, that I think people think persons with disability don't get sick, or they don't need these services, and that's why they are not accessible. Because you find that you go to a health center, no sign language interpreter. All the roads that are taking you to the health different departments or service centers are not do this. I also wanted to talk about why do we need to change to have this to change about the persons with disability are not considered. Because during COVID, a friend of mine was pregnant, and she lost her kids because the way the service providers, the health center, the health service providers were looking at her, was like, hey, do you also need to get such services? And this lady lost her twins because the nurses, the midwives were not caring. Because at first, you see, even when women with disability go from antenatal, they make you climb raised beds, and when you complain about it, what they think, the first thing they tell you, how did you get pregnant? We're not on a raised bed. So those are the things they say to us in a rude tone, and you wonder, is this a human being talking to me, or am I seeing a ghost that is pregnant? I felt bad really when my friend lost twins because of the service provider, these health people, the nurses, and one was still alive, and they wanted an ambulance.
Maureen is getting lost. Maureen, maybe you wrap up at the end. Let us now go to Shana. Shana, I wanted you to tell us what sector do you think is in need of which is one of those main sectors, and most of them need a mindset shift, but for you, which one really stands out in need of a mindset change?
I'm going to say Ruduma, yet is a...
Thank you so much, Asha. Maureen, your network is off. We cannot hear you. Can you hear me, Maureen? Okay, your network is off, Maureen. So let me proceed and then we can have you after me, Maureen. So to me, I think the sector that is severely in need of mindset change has to be the education sector. If you notice, the performance of children with disabilities wasn't so good for I think the third year in a row. And this is due to several factors, including accessibility and service provision of inclusive communication materials and personal and support staff. But why I say the education sector is in need of mindset change is because I do not believe in the idea of institutionalization, of segregating children with disabilities from children without disabilities, because I believe discrimination begins from our families, from the people we interact with at a younger age, and definitely from the friends and the communities that we grow up in. So if you're saying that you're having a child with a disability, it's more or less like you're still hiding the child with a disability, because in the olden days, children with disabilities used to be hidden. And you would not know there's a child with a disability until another child tells you that, you see in that house, there's a child, tabayo, or like bamusibila kumuti or something, yeah? So those are the stories you hear from children. Even the child that is being hidden, the children will know this child is being hidden, but they don't understand why, because they are too little to understand that. So the discrimination that we're speaking of, the segregation comes from this segregation. I like the idea of having children with disabilities study in inclusive schools. We're getting the inclusive policy, the inclusive education policy. I think there should also be children to be taken to schools whereby they can interact and socialize with children without disability. Because then this younger generation will grow up knowing that, oh, my friend is what? Is disabled or cannot do this, but this is my friend. Like now, some of us, most people we've come into contact with have interacted with us when we're old, and they're like, hey, so now how do you walk? Yeah. So those things, if the child has grown up around people with disabilities, they wouldn't have to ask those awkward questions. Like I have my nephews here who are under 10, they keep, when I stand up, if the crutches are far from me, they pick up the crutches and they bring them to me. They've never asked me why are you using extra legs? Yeah? Or why are you walking like that? No, they do not, but they know that this is their aunt and she uses an additional pair of legs. Yeah? And they are okay with that. So definitely if they meet another person with a disability, they will be like, oh, you're like my auntie. Yeah? That's what they say. Because I've had my friends' kids say that, oh, this one is like Aunt Shana, yeah? So, segregation, we have to do away with segregation. Let the inclusive education policy come into play, while we also do away with those special needs schools, as we call them, whereby we're just putting the children with visual disabilities alone, the children with hearing disabilities alone. Children need to socialize at young ages, and we create more awareness around disability in that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Shana. I think we can go back to Maureen. I would have loved to engage you more on what you just said about the schools and all that, but unfortunately we are running out of time, and I always want the accountant in me wants to stick to the time allocated. So Maureen, let us come back to you, and I think you give us finish with the sector on health, but also point out the advantages of changing mindset within the sector, or what could be done to change, what could be changed within the health sector to improve including persons with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asha, and my fellow persons with disabilities. I wanted to add on the things I was talking before the network cut me off. I was like, we need to change the mindset of our service providers in the way they are looking at women with disability when they are giving them services. I don't know whether you heard me when I was talking about my friend who lost twins, but because of this service provider being careless, because they saw her as someone who doesn't need these services very well, and she lost her twins during COVID-19. And the way they were talking to her was really negative and hurting. And I've also had experience with women who say that when they are going for antenatal services, the way those nurses talk to them is really need to be changed, because I think their mindset is being corrupted. I think most of the time they think women with disabilities are asexuals. They don't need to have families, and so when you come for such services, there's a way they look at you. Even when young girls with disability go for to get services in regard to sexual reproductive health, you find that they are being asked a lot of questions. Me too, I was once asked when I was in my senior 6, I found when they were giving these services to young girls and boys, they were training them on how to protect themselves, family planning, and when I entered, everybody looked at me as if I was not required to enter. And this service provider, this doctor, I would say nurse, it was not a doctor, the silly questions she asked me was really hurting, that do you also need such services? And I was wondering how can someone who's educated, who has gone through those years, to ask me such a question. So this health sector need to really change their mindset. And what can mindset change bring to us? The advantage of it. One, it reduces the mortality rate, because I've realized most of women with disabilities have lost their kids, their unborn children, because of the carelessness of these service providers. And also, it will reduce on the ability of acquiring more disability, because you find that some women with disability acquire other disability because of when they go for such services. We have there's a friend, it's not a friend of mine, but there's this person I give services to. She got a C-section when she didn't even require it, but because there's this pre-assumed, there was this assumption that this lady with a disability needs to be helped quickly, and they need to operate her and remove the child. But according to the analysis, when you hear a story of this woman, says that for her she could even give birth very well, but the way the service provider, the doctor, was talking to her, she was like, I want to help you, come, sign, let your person sign, and the child be they remove the child from you. If not, we are going to leave you. So the lady accepted to be operated, and we all know that C-sections are not good things to get unless otherwise. but you remain with that pain for so long. And remember, when you are a woman with a disability and you have another pain that is put on you, it's another thing that and also developing more complications. I remember also there's this lady Bambi at our office. She's a person. She's a lady with a short stature. She gave birth to a child with cerebral palsy. A cerebral palsy. But the reason, when I asked her, how did you get this? How come that your child has a cerebral palsy? She said, when I was asking for help, the doctors were looking at me as if I'm not existing. And when time came for giving birth, no one was there to help me until my child got this thing. In Uganda, we call it okukowa. Until the baby got tired. And remember, most of cerebral palsy comes when a child like a mother loses water, those birth waters, and the child remains in the womb alone, and the head like crushes the womb, like beating the head on the womb, an empty womb without this fluid that helps this child to develop, like to be in good health. So you see that when this mindset is changed, we shall reduce on all these complications. Mothers with disability get when they are going for antenatal, when they are getting these services in our health sector. Yeah, that's what I also wanted to point out. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Very enlightening about the health sector and what they are doing and really not doing for us as persons with disabilities and as women with disabilities. So we have extended beyond time, and I don't want to waste the time of any of our listeners from watching the evening news. I'd like to appreciate all our contributions to the space, to this topic. It has been really educative and enlightening. And also, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our Member of Parliament for Kampala, Miss Laura Kanushu. She graced us with her presence, but she had to go off the call for other business. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us. We do hope that you pick the good aspects of our discussions and you continue to be disability inclusive and sensitive in whichever space that you may get in, that persons with disabilities are not there or there's at least one. So we do hope you spread our message further and wider. Thank you so much.